Top 5 college football coaches coaching today. Not the best 5. This is Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite. Anybody can do a best 5 coaches or whatever. You're going to have the same names on every list, right? Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney. Anybody can make those lists. It's going to be the same names over and over. This is different. This is the Uncle Lou list. Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite college football coaches coaching today. Let's do it.
Uncle Lou's 5 favorite coaches.
Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. Yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also, in addition to that as well. Normally when I make this kind of video, I would get up and pace back and forth in here and do the yelling into the camera thing while I hold it up to my face. But unfortunately, for some reason, when I woke up this morning, my knee was out of socket, so I can't stand up. I can't walk today, so I'm not going to stand up. I'm sitting down to do this, but don't worry. I'll try to keep you entertained anyway. But yeah, so top 5 favorite college football coaches. This is Uncle Lou's list of my 5 favorite college football coaches coaching today. So not a best of list. Like I said in the beginning, there's a million of those anywhere you look, and it's going to be the same names every time. There's nothing exciting or interesting about doing that sort of a list. So this is my 5 favorite. Everybody on this list, right? I want everyone on this list to receive a lifetime contract at the school they're currently at. I think that would be great. I think it should happen. I fully and 100% support all 5 coaches on this list. Now, I know some people are going to argue the order of this list. Some people are going to name other coaches that should have been in it, and that's fine. That's the entire point of doing these lists. I don't expect everyone to agree, but like I said, that's why it's called Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite college football coaches coaching today. And one quick disclaimer here. Obviously, if Butch Jones still had a job, he would be number 1 on this list. The entertainment value alone that Butch Jones provides as a head coach of a major team is well worth a spot on this top 5 list, and probably the number 1 spot. Of course, he's not currently a head coach, and I'm not including interns at schools. This is head coaches only. So unfortunately, Lyle was ineligible for this list. But had I done this video any year over the last 4 years, Lyle definitely would have been on it and probably would have been number 1 every single year. But he's not on this list because he's not currently a head coach. But anyway, let's get into the list.
Number 5, Jim Harbaugh.
That's right, Jim Harbaugh has got to be on your list of favorite coaches if you're a college football fan. The guy is entertaining. He's constantly making a fool of himself with the spend the night parties and the gritted teeth and the khaki pants and all these sorts of things. You look at him and what he's done at Michigan since he's been there. He lost his first ever game as head coach of Michigan to Utah, and it's pretty much been downhill since then. Yes, he's had a couple of seasons where he won 10 games, but don't let that trick you or fool you. If you look into what Jim Harbaugh has really done at Michigan, it's literally
nothing.
Okay? He's never beat his number 1 rival, Ohio State. He has a losing record against his in-state rival, Michigan State. He's 1-2 against Michigan State, 0-3 against Ohio State. He's never finished higher than 3rd, not in the Big Ten. He's never finished higher than 3rd in his own division. Jim Harbaugh, one of my favorite coaches. What's his record been since he got to Michigan? He won 10 games his first year, 10 games his second year, 8 games last year. So is he improving or is he getting worse? Looks like it's getting worse, 10, 10, and 8. The guy can't win a bowl game. He wins 10 games his first 2 years, so he gets matched up with pretty decent teams in a bowl game. Third year, 8 games, but still they try to match you up with a similar team, and the guy is 1-2 in bowl games. So I mean, like I said, never beat Ohio State, losing record at 1-2 to Michigan State, losing bowl record 1-2, can't win his division, hasn't even finished higher than third in his division since he got there, much less win the Big Ten or even get a chance to play in a Big Ten championship. He's probably the second most overpaid coach on this top 5 list. This guy actually made $11 million 1 year at Michigan if you add his salary plus a signing bonus that he got in that same year. He actually made $11 million in 1 year. Jim Harbaugh, number 5 on Uncle Lou's 5 favorite coaches list.
Number 4, Ed Orgeron.
Now, if Ed Orgeron is not on your list of top 5 favorite football coaches, then you're doing college football wrong. This guy's press conferences are must-watch TV. You know how people like to watch certain things on TV and play a drinking game along with it? Like, if you're watching like the news, every time they say Russia, you take a shot, whatever. You know those type of drinking games I'm talking about? You can play those games with Ed Orgeron press conferences, and the way it works is every time he says a word that you're actually able to understand, you take a drink. You're liable to never get drunk, but it still is a fun game to play and makes watching his press conferences worthwhile. Now, Ed Orgeron has actually only been a head coach for 4 complete seasons. He was known as an interim coach, bouncing around. He was interim at Southern Cal for a while. He was interim at LSU before they promoted him to permanent head coach there. But he actually only has 4 total complete seasons as head coach and only has a winning record in 1 of those 4 seasons, and that was last year at LSU, finishing 9-4 with a loss to Troy. That cannot be explained. I don't care how hard you try. But Ed Orgeron, definitely one of my 5 favorite college football coaches, if for no other reason than for this right here. Yeah, Ed Orgeron at Ole Miss. What was he? 3-8, 4-8, and 3-9 in 3 years at Ole Miss. 9-4 last year at LSU with a loss to Troy. Has only finished ranked once out of all his years head coaching, and that was his first year at LSU, which he did not coach the entire season. That was the year he replaced Les Miles 3 or 4 games into the season, towards the end of September, whatever it was, when they fired Miles mid-season and made Orgeron interim coach. That was the only season he's ever finished ranked. So yes, Ed Orgeron, one of Uncle Lou's top 5 favorite coaches, coming in at number 4.
Number 3, Will Muschamp.
Ah, yes, Will Muschamp. I struggled with this one because I thought about putting this one number 1, but I tried to keep my just hatred for South Carolina and obvious bias for UGA out of it as much as possible. But I easily could have had Will Muschamp at number 1 on my list of 5 favorite college football coaches. I absolutely love Will Muschamp and would be 100% in favor of him getting a lifetime extension at any school, anywhere, especially in the SEC.
Except Georgia.
Yeah, but I love Will Muschamp. 4 years at Florida. What was he? 3-1. Or 1-3 against UGA. The only year Will Muschamp beat UGA was his last year at Florida when Georgia let Florida win that game. We wanted Florida to keep Muschamp so bad we threw that game. We let Florida win Muschamp's last year at Florida, just hoping that Florida would keep him. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and they fired him. But luckily for Georgia fans, this guy landed at South Carolina, where he promptly went 0-2 his first 2 years in Columbia against the Georgia Bulldogs. I absolutely love Will Muschamp. Of course, he works for UGA. He always has. We send him around from school to destroy these programs from the inside out. Worked at Florida. They still haven't recovered. Even defensive coordinator at Auburn, we whipped up on him without a problem. Now he's at South Carolina. Can't beat UGA to save his life. Fixing to go 0-3 this coming up season when we travel up to Columbia week 2 and beat him again. And it's not going to upset, bother, or hurt Will Muschamp's feelings in the least, because like I said, he works for the University of Georgia and always has. Will Muschamp. Number 3 on the UNCLELOU top 5 favorite college football coaches list.
Number 2, Paul Johnson.
You guessed it, Paul Johnson. He has to be on this list of UNCLELOU's top 5 favorite college football coaches coaching right now. He has to be on this list. Another one that could easily have been number 1 on UNCLELOU's list for a variety of reasons. Now, a lot of coaches on this UNCLELOU list are on here for their entertainment value at Orgeron press conferences. Will Muschamp having heart attacks, strokes, and conniption fits on the sideline. There's entertainment value there. Not a whole lot of entertainment value with Paul Johnson, although he does treat his players like absolute dirt. Everything is their fault. Nothing has ever been Paul Johnson's fault. He always blames his players for everything. Post-game press conferences, you can see him do it during the game, grabbing players by the face mask, yelling at them. Anything that happens is 100% the player's fault because Paul Johnson thinks he's God's gift to football. He thinks he's a genius. He thinks just because he works at the school that gives us Pep Boys managers and terrible infrastructure in Atlanta, that means he's actually super smart in some kind of way. Hashtag it's not. Yeah, but Paul Johnson, definitely one of my top 5 favorite college head coaches coaching right now. Obviously, the guy can't beat UGA. He's been there since 2008. He's only beat UGA 3 times. Now, that in and of itself, not really that embarrassing, considering they hadn't beaten UGA in 7 years before Paul Johnson got there. That's right. Georgia Tech only has 3 wins over the University of Georgia since the year 2001. So not a very good century so far for Georgia Tech. They can't win their division. They can't win the ACC. They can't beat Georgia. The main reason why Paul Johnson is on this list, why he is one of my absolute favorite college football coaches coaching today, has nothing to do with the fact that we own Georgia Tech. We own Georgia Tech no matter who the coach is. The reason Paul Johnson is on this list is because of the style of offense that he runs. He runs a 30-year-old style of offense that 0 elite high school football recruits are interested in playing in at the college level. That's just the reality of the situation. Why does that matter to the University of Georgia? We don't have to compete against Georgia Tech in recruiting. Not just because we're better than them, but because we're just not recruiting the same style of player that Georgia Tech is. Georgia Tech is competing against Division II schools and other lower classification schools that still run this circus 3-card Monty type 1985 triple option offense. So even on the occasional year where Georgia Tech beats Georgia, which is rare, more rare than an eclipse to be honest, even in those years, normally, if Georgia Tech beats Georgia in a given year, that will carry over into recruiting. That's something that Georgia Tech can use in a pitch to recruits. Come to Georgia Tech. We beat Georgia last year. We run the state. That kind of thing. And does that work 100% of the time on recruits within state battles between schools? No. But it's one more thing that you're able to tell a recruit in order to try to sway him to come to your school. Georgia Tech can't do that. Even in the years that Georgia Tech beats Georgia, they're not even sitting down with the same caliber of player that Georgia is because the elite high school recruits in Georgia and any other state for that matter are not interested in going to Georgia Tech and running a 35-year-old triple option offense. They're just not. Paul Johnson, definitely one of UNCLELOU's top 5 favorite current college football head coaches. Salute, CPJ.
Number 1, Gus Malzahn.
The Gus Bus! Gus Malzahn. That's right, Gus Malzahn, or better known as Beaker from the Muppets. What is with this guy? I don't know. Gus Malzahn, currently UNCLELOU's favorite college football head coach coaching right now. Without question, Gus Malzahn is number 1 on my list. He is my favorite, and there's no debating that. It was a fairly easy choice here for me to put Gus Malzahn number 1 on my list. Let's run through the reasons why. Why? Can't beat Bama, can't beat Georgia. He's got a losing record to both of his 2 biggest rivals, Georgia and Alabama. He's 2-3 against Bama, 2-4 against Georgia. He beat both Georgia and Alabama his first year, and he beat both Georgia and Alabama this past year.
In the regular season, though.
Of course, Georgia whooped them in the SEC. Title game to win the SEC. Gus Malzahn, an absolute joke of a head coach. An absolute joke. I 100% support Gus Malzahn. He deserves a lifetime extension. He deserves every penny of that raise he got last year. He's now making $7 million a year. What are you getting for $7 million? You're getting a coach that can't beat your in-state rival, Alabama. You're getting a coach that can't beat your SEC East rival, Georgia, losing records to both over a 5-year period. That's not an anomaly. That's not an accident. That's a pattern. Okay, that's just what it is. It's a pattern. He can't win a bowl game. In 5 years at Auburn, the guy has won one bowl game, and it was a Birmingham Bowl. A Birmingham Bowl. That's it. That's literally all he's won is a Birmingham Bowl. He's lost every other bowl game he's played, including a loss to a non-Power 5 team last year, UCF, in the Chick-fil-A or the Peach or whatever they're calling that thing now. Auburn excuses are a mile long. Gus Malzahn never had back-to-back 10-win seasons. He won 10 or more his first year, and he won 10 or more this past year, or exactly 10 this last year. In between, it's a bunch of 7 and 8 win seasons. Consistently not good offensively for a guy who's supposed to be an offensive guru, right? They lose one running back every single year, and then they can't get a first down in November against Georgia and Alabama. Every single year, it's the injury excuse for Gus Malzahn. Another reason that Gus Malzahn makes this list as my favorite is that he has got the Auburn fans convinced that he's a good coach. I mean, these Auburn fans actually like Gus Malzahn. In fact, they love this guy. Now, there are a few who are tired of it, and especially last year after the loss to LSU, there was a good percentage of Auburn fans that were ready to run that guy out of town to Fayetteville. Yeah, but then end of the year, he beats Georgia and Alabama. Everybody hops back on to Gus Bus before he shows up in Atlanta and lays a complete egg in the SEC championship game against Georgia. And then a month to get healthy, because, of course, the only reason they lost the SEC championship game is because they had one hurt running back, right? Any Barner will tell you that. Same reason they lost to Georgia the year before, one hurt running back. Every time they lose a game, it's because of one hurt player. You get 85 scholarships. Gus Malzahn has 85 scholarships, just like every other coach in America has 85 scholarships. Recruit more than one running back. I love Gus Malzahn. The guy's a genius. I hope they keep him forever. And without an elite quarterback, the guy's an absolute embarrassment. The offense runs around a quarterback there. And for a guy that's supposed to be able to develop QBs and turn them into whatever it is he's supposed to be able to turn them into, he sure has had a long list of duds at that position. Jarrett Stidbaloney, a transfer from another school. Going back even when he was a coordinator, Cam Newton, transfer from another school. When he made the BCS title game and lost his first year as head coach at Auburn, 2013, I think it was, transfer quarterback Nick Marshall from Georgia. Yeah, so when it comes to evaluating high school talent, recruiting and signing a quarterback out of high school, Gus Malzahn is over. He's never had a decent quarterback that he's recruited himself out of high school. Not one single time. Not once. Gus Malzahn, definitely number one on this list. $7 million they paid this guy just to keep him from going to Fayetteville, Arkansas, just so they can turn around this year and watch Arkansas with new head coach Chad Morris beat the absolute bejesus out of the barn, which is my guess on what's going to happen. There you have it. Uncle Lou's top 5 current college football coaches. My favorite. Not the best. That's a favorite list. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section down below that I'm wrong. Which coaches should be added? Give me your 5 favorite coaches in the comment section down below. Let me know. Appreciate y'all watching. Subscribe if you're not already. Live show tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern here on LouTube. Join us and troll-a-lo-lo-lo. Good morning!